Welcome, guys, to another episode of the WiFi podcast. Troy and Rashad from EYL, Earn Your Leisure.
Financial advisor for over 10 years. I think I started when I was like probably 24. It was a thing where I just kind of always knew that, Instagram was a great tool. Social media was a great tool to kind of, leverage and grow and reach more people.
I think what you touched on is the key, the formula for it, right? Being 100% authentic. Like the person you saw is the person that you're going to meet.
I mean, for me, like Wi-Fi, you connect to the Wi-Fi and you upload and you could do anything all over the world. So that to me, like Wi-Fi money means like, it's digital, it's in the air, it's no boundaries. Like just grow the following. And, once you have enough eyeballs, once you have enough attention, then it's easy to monetize as long as you have something that's, valuable to the people.
All right, cool. Welcome, guys, to another episode of the Wi-Fi Money podcast. I've got some big, I can't put it into words. The guests that I got on today, Troy and Rashad from EYL, Earn Your Leisure. I've got a lot. I've got a lot of inspiration. I take a lot. I don't even know the word is. I can't even get my words out. It's just big, man. These guys don't understand what they're doing for like financial education, and I don't think there's anybody in like financial literacy or education who's doing it bigger than these guys. And what I really like is that you guys don't want to put yourselves in the bubble. You don't want to just be big for financial literacy education. I know you've got bigger plans for that, and you want to just be a hub for just information in general, whatever it might be. I know you do podcasts, but you also want to make podcasts and just any type of media in general. I want you guys to just talk to us. What's EYL? What's EYL and the things that you do? Just explain to the people here who might not know who you are.
Yeah, appreciate that for sure. So, Earn Your Leisure is a platform media company that was created about 4 years ago. And as you said, it's based around business and financial literacy, but expanded into different areas where it's pretty much a one-stop shop where you can get information on a variety of different things, pretty much everything when it comes to business and investing, from cryptocurrency to real estate to entrepreneurship to credit to everything. And, it started as a show, and then now we produce shows for other people. We have a network, which, we have 7 shows under the umbrella of that network. And now we're actually just expanding and do stuff outside of business, right? Like, more of a variety of different aspects of culture. We do live events. That's real big for us. We have an online educational community called EYL University. We have merch. So, a company rooted in business and finance, media, and, just growing from there.
Yeah, I've got some merch. I get a lot of compliments, for the merch. People who know what's up, when they see me wear it in gym, they're just like, that's a cool shirt, bro. Like,
smart man.
Appreciate that.
And because I got it from when I went to Atlanta, InvestFest Atlanta, they're like, where do you get that from? I'm like, I don't even know you ship to UK? I don't even know if you ship.
I believe so. Yeah, we ship to the UK.
Yeah, so obviously I tell them there, but they're like, oh, where do you get that from? And just makes it. Who came up with the design for that shirt?
Yeah, I did. So me and my other partner, Mike, we was kind of going back and forth, but I had the idea for assets over liabilities with the line, how it is, right? Like you can see it right there, the line underneath assets and then over. And I told him the idea, and he actually came up with a mock-up that was kind of different. It was his interpretation of what it meant. And I had to I'm like, no, this is how it has to be. And then we got that done. And, the idea was kind of like a division problem, right? Where it's like assets over liabilities, but really wanted to highlight the over. So having a line across, I think was like, and then he was playing around with some different fonts. And he was like, this is the font that we want to use. So that's really it. It was just trying to think of a slogan. Felt like assets over liabilities was something that, was synonymous with our brand and something that people can kind of take away from, even if they didn't know who we are. They see that and it kind of puts them in some level of understanding of the message that we're kind of delivering. And it's just become like a cultural phenomenon at this point. So yeah, thanks to everybody that has supported that the merch, the clothing, because it's definitely a big part of our brand for sure.
Yeah. And I remember when I was at Atlanta, the people going crazy for that merch there, man. It was sick. But like you guys said, as you said, you literally everything that you touch is like gold, because you know the t-shirt really does well. And then you also said about the event. So talk to me about, you know, InvestFest. Talk to me about the history of InvestFest. How did that start? And also talk about how, you know, you're coming to London at the end of this month, 31st, our Royal Albert Hall. So I wanted to know a bit about that. Explain what InvestFest is, what does it do, why it was created, and yeah, how people can get to it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start on the brainchild behind it. We had seen events and conferences that had happened in the space, and we wanted to have our own spin on it. And so one of the big things in our community that is big is entertainment. And so we knew that we had an audience from that. It was like, how do we mix the two? How do we mix business and entertainment and really create edutainment? And so one of the things was like, all right, let's create a live event, but let's have pieces of events that we really like. Let's make it a festival, not just a conference. And so we had a lot of entrepreneurs that had ideas and they never had a platform to do it. So we created a village where people could actually highlight their businesses. So if you were there, you saw the vendor marketplace, but we had over the first InvestFest, we had over 100. The one you came to in August, we had about 300 independent businesses that were there. It was huge, right? And so we had that part of it that was cool. We bought food trucks because when we talk about festivals that are outdoors, one of the things that are a key component is the food, and also it's the music, right? But we were like, all right, well, let's take the music part out and let's highlight business, let's highlight entrepreneurs, highlight stories. And so we had people in our space that were just experts, and that's one of the things we highlight is like, look, we don't have to be an expert at everything. We can find people who look like us, talk like us, sound like us, and are experts in their field. So whether it be credit, whether it be tax, whether it be real estate, let's give them a platform. So the live event space became like, all right, this is going to be our show. It's going to be our annual thing, right? So it came synonymous. Like when we think of festivals, like you guys have, what's the festival that you had at the beginning of July? The wireless. So like, why you have wireless, that becomes a synonymous thing every year. Like we know that's going to happen in the UK. And we see that here when we have Coachella. And it was like, well, who does that for this community? Who does that for business and finance? And so Invest Festival became that. And we wanted to not be the face of it. It's kind of the thing. And Shadi was like, look, it could be cool if it was Earn Your Leisure, but it would be bigger if InvestFest just lived on its own. Like when we think of Made in America, we obviously know Jay-Z throws it, but it doesn't say Jay-Z. It says Made in America. Like we don't know who the CEO of Coachella is if we don't look. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, all right, well, this brand can live on its own. And we've seen it. For the first year, we had 3,500 people attend. The one that we just had in August, we had over 14,000 people. And the growth is just because of people who are listening. Like, obviously, you're in the UK and we have a fellowship there, but we have strategic partnerships too. And so when we get to interview people, they now become synonymous with us, right? As they grow, their brand grows, and as their brand grows, we grow, because a lot of them were coming on the platform and getting that start or getting that light to shine on them. And one of those interviews, obviously, was Steve Harvey. You know, he sat down with us. We had an amazing conversation, an icon in the media space. And we talked to him. And after the conversation, he was just like, whatever you guys are doing in business, I want to be a part of. And so it just so happened that InvestFest was the next thing that we were going to be doing. And that strategic partnership led to other relationships. Obviously, when you saw Tyler Perry there, you saw Dan Cathy there, you saw Donahue Peoples, those type of relationships, we foster them and we keep them. And now InvestFest grows every year, not just as the face of it, but as a brand itself.
Yeah, I love that. One thing that I really like about what you guys have done is that you're growing like you said there, you didn't want to be the face of it, and you wanted to grow the brand itself. And I find that when you do it like that, it's more harder, it's more difficult. And I wanted to ask about that because I've got my own personal brand, and I know how to grow a personal brand. But when you're trying to grow, something separate to it, it's like people don't mess with you because of that brand; they mess with you because of the person. So how is it that you was able to grow, a brand separate from you guys so well?
Well, I mean, we piggybacked off of our brand, so it's all different levels. So even like, I was growing my own personal brand on social media before we had Earn Your Leisure. So that helped when we started Earn Your Leisure, because it was able to transition people from my page to Earn Your Leisure's page. Then we start Earn Your Leisure, and then we, become popular with Earn Your Leisure. So now doing InvestFest, that's a transition from Earn Your Leisure to InvestFest. So it's like one domino effect. It's not like just completely different. So I feel that they're both important, because ultimately people, it's good to identify with individuals. And it's good to, kind of build some level of rapport, and people, identify with people's personalities, different things of that nature. But for us personally, That's how we was able to accomplish that. It wasn't like we didn't just start out faceless, which you can do that as well, but that wasn't our experience. We started out more on the personality side and transitioned into things where we don't necessarily have to be the face of it, but even that is still kind of synonymous with our brand. So even though we're not the face of InvestFest, a lot of people still, they understand who's behind it, and they understand they tie us into InvestFest.
Mm-hmm. Rashad, how did you grow your personal brand? Because I know you're is a financial advisor, right?
Yeah, financial advisor for over 10 years.
Oh wow. What age did you start?
Uh Being a financial advisor?
Yeah, yeah.
I think I started when I was like probably 24.
Okay.
Yeah, like 24, 25, something like that.
And then how did you leverage your financial advisor to now grow your own personal brand? Will you just
No,
make
it was a thing where I just kind of always knew that, Instagram was a great tool.
Mm-hmm.
Social media was a great tool to kind of, leverage and grow and reach more people than you could just reach just cold calling or just doing a seminar or stuff like that. So, it was just throwing everything at the board at the time, trying to grow a social media page. This is probably like 5 years ago. So we was doing photo shoots, was doing classroom clips of the classroom. Actually had a public access show at the time, free public access show. So that was like, taking clips from that. I was going on different people's radio shows. I would just do like selfie videos about different financial topics. So it was everything really, just a mix of everything as far as on the social media side
Mm-hmm.
on my page. And then I also was taking other people's content as well. And that's another reason how he got, a large following, is like kind of like taking clips from like let's say like a Vlad TV interview, taking that clip and kind of like, repurposing it and like, saying like, okay, this is about like Magic Johnson was a big one. He was interviewing with Maverick Carter, and kind of took that clip and just wrote like a headline for it. And people start sharing that clip and stuff like that. So even it wasn't even like a lot of original content. It was like sharing other people's content, and then writing too. I was writing a lot as well. So I would like write different stories about Apple and Nipsey Hussle. I like comparing those two entities, and I'll write stories about like Netflix, and that became really popular as well. Like people really got into the writing on Instagram. It was like almost like blogs, pretty much. Like that's how I was treating Instagram, like a blog. So yeah, it was a variety, like 10 different things that was putting up content every single day on Instagram, and just kind of built that traction, and developed a niche in the financial literacy space where it was like financial literacy but mixed with business pop culture, and entertaining stories, and different takes on it, like try to have a different angle on how it's relaying that information.
Mm-hmm. Sick. And Troy, I know that you started in were you just a teacher, just educating, just a teacher at the beginning? How did you transition from a teacher to what you're doing now? I'm on this personal brand. How did you build your own personal brand as well?
Yeah, so yeah, I started in education, which is kind of like the root of it all. I mean, obviously now we still educate, just in a different subject. And I was teaching in New York City. I was teaching health and phys ed. And I remember just talking to my colleagues and being in that setting. And I was just like, what are these kids going to learn that they can use in the future? Like we always ask that question as adults, like, yeah, I never used any of these things. And so I'm sitting in the school and I'm like, I'm getting paid to do this, but I'm starting to feel a little complicit about it, right? Like, yo, I'm being paid, but I know that the things that they're learning, they're not going to be applicable very soon. And so I had an opportunity to run a summer program in our community. And I kind of was looking at it like a blank slate. I'm like, all right, well, I have these kids for 6 weeks. They were 14-year-old students who had aged out of a camp experience, but were too young to work. And I said to him, I'm like, look, man, this is going to be a blank slate. I want to treat this 6 weeks of this program like the 10 months of school that they miss, right? So I want to be like, yo, this is going to be like summer school, but of stuff that you're actually going to use. And one of those core principles was financial literacy. At the end of the program, we were going to pay the students based on their performance $500. And so I'm like, all right, well, at 14, $500, it feels like a lot of money. It is a lot of money. And I'm like, yo, if we don't teach them the value of it, then they're just going to spend it and they're going to take nothing from this. And so at the time he was just starting his financial advising career, I'm like, this is perfect. You should come in and teach finance, like teach financial literacy. So at the time I was, he never liked school. So I was like, all right, well, I'll write lesson plans and like, you just be the face of it. Like I'll teach you classroom management, how to write these lessons, how it's formatted. And he would come in and teach about finance, and then I would learn from that. And so that's how we just had this. I mean, obviously we grew up together, but that's how our working relationship started, was in those classrooms. And obviously, like you said, started recording those some of those sessions, and they ended up on Instagram. And people just like, wait, number one, where's that program? How come we don't have it? How do we get it? And why didn't we have it when we were growing up? And so it was like, all right, there's something there. And so obviously when he was building his own personal brand, we were just like, all right, well, if he succeeds, we all going to succeed. So how do we make sure that he makes it on his own personal brand? And it was like, at the time he wanted a hashtag. And so I was like, I got one for you. And he was like, well, what's the hashtag? I'm like, earn your leisure. That's got to be the hashtag. You got to use that. This is going to be synonymous with you. Like everything that we go through, nobody sees the hard work. Nobody sees any of that. They just see the end result. And so like, now you got to show these people like everything you work for, everything we work for, there was like dedication, sacrifice that went into it. And so he was using it for a while, then he stopped and he came back to it. And then when we had to create a podcast, it was like, all right, bet. This is what we're going to use on your leisure. That's going to be our name. It was his hashtag. Now it's going to be our name. And so I don't come from a business background. And so, like I said, when we were doing the lessons, I would be learning more things. And so this was something I had to like really like dive into. And so when we started the Instagram page for On Your Leisure, I was like, okay, he's writing posts, I'll do posts. And I'm like, I'm really just not great at that. Like, I'm really good at researching. I'm really good at like finding information. And so like at the beginning, I was like, all right, I'm gonna let him be great at what he does. And that's like creating, like you said, writing and posting. And I'll just try to find as much information as possible so that we can put it on a page. So I'll wake up every morning before I went to school to teach. And I would just read like 15 different publications every single morning. Like I wake up at 5 o'clock, just
like
read
Financial Times and stuff like that.
Financial Times, Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg, Business Insider, Forbes, USA Today, Seeking Alpha, I said Forbes, Vox, anything, Fox Business, anything, CNBC, anything that was related to business, I was reading it. Because like, number one, I was learning, but I was also looking for our audience to see what they would be interested in. So like I would comb through all of them. And I would just try to find articles that I think would be relevant for our audience. And once I found one, I was like, all right, I just send it to him. So I used to send him like 6 or 7 articles a day. And like sometimes he like would just be like, all right, I'll pick one. And he'll just pick one and write it up. And then that would be our news. And like, so that became our post strategy. It was like, all right, let's just find information. And then when he didn't have to create original content, he always knew like, all right, bet we got a stack of articles that are relatable that we can also post. And so that just became the routine. And as I'm reading the articles, I'm also learning. So like, that's something that's really important. A lot of times we discount that what we do, right? Like if I ask a kid, do you read? And most times people are like, oh, what book did you read? I'm like, nah, I'm reading articles, but I'm learning so much. And so that's that habit of just reading every day. I just kept learning. So that was the formula for me. So like that worked. And so I still do that to this day.
Mm-hmm. I think it's crazy how like, it kind of shows how much the school system lacks, especially when it comes to financial content, because I kind of find it crazy how if you don't, just like how you had those kids that you were teaching at 14, 15, but if you didn't teach those kids, then they would have never known about it. And that's why you have adults now who are looking at EYL and learning about it now. So if you never get taught about it when you're a kid, you'll just never ever know about it. And eventually you'll become an adult like you are now, and that's probably one of the main reasons why you created EYL. And that's why there's such a big market for it as well, because it never gets taught in schools, does it?
Yeah, it never gets taught. And I mean, it's pretty intentional why it doesn't get taught, right? Like we never teach kids how to be entrepreneurs. We teach them how to be workers, right? Because if we have a workforce, then we always have people that we can employ. And so, like you said, that complicity was like, all right, well, how's this going to work, right? We got to get this information to these kids, because if they get it at 14, imagine what they'll be at 20, right? And that it wasn't even just finance at the time. It was like, well, we want these kids to go to college, but the first time they ever see a college or step on a college campus is when they actually are freshmen. But what if they saw what it was like at 13, and they knew the financial repercussions of if they took student loan, if they understood what credit was when they stepped on the campus. And so those things were like, all right, well, let's give them the information as soon as possible so that by the time they can get to 18 or 19 and they're trying to make that decision, they'll make one that makes sense to them, right? Because if they don't, like we know from, especially here with student loans, is like something that could be a part of your burden for 10, 20, 30 years if you ever come out of it. And so we're like, all right, these are financial decisions that kids need to know now so that at the time they become 18, they're better off. And then their parents, obviously, You know, there was a generation where obviously it wasn't taught, and they had the information, but it wasn't being shared. So, you know, that definitely was one of the core reasons why we went with this.
Yeah, and the older generation, like even when I tell my mom about all these kind of things, she's not really with it. Like I actually dropped out of university to just go full hard on just this business and whatnot. And even now, it doesn't matter how much money might be made, she'll still be like, "When are you gonna go get your degree or whatever?" And I'm like, "This piece of paper won't pay me as much as what can get paid. It's not gonna. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy." I wanted to ask as well that how you guys went from like online, you know, when you're posting your content on Instagram and all these different things, and obviously now you're physical and you've got your events and stuff like that. You know, some people they can master an online business, but they might not be able to do it physically. And when I went to that, because before InvestFest Atlanta, everything I know about EYL was just online. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So when I saw it in person, I was like, wow, these guys, the quality that they do online is the same quality physically, if not better. How were you able to, you know, do you get what I'm trying to say? How are we able to maintain the quality at that level?
Yeah, we've been doing events for a while. Like even before the
Okay.
pandemic, we were doing events. So a lot of it is just trial and error, learn. You know, our first event we started with just doing free networking events. That was like the first kind of in-person events that we were doing. And you know, that was different cities in America. We went to Brooklyn, we went to Atlanta, LA, Chicago, Houston. So, you know, just learning from that, learning from the ground level of free events and like, you know, the type of music that should be played and like, you know, the time frame and, you know, days of the week and different type of venues and stuff like that. And, you know, working with different venue owners and stuff like that, you know, everything that we did, we actually had to do ourselves. Not like we had like other people that actually put on the shows for us. So then from there, just going to like starting doing like a live podcast, we started doing live podcasts and started doing workshops and different things of that nature. So we had some level of experience in it. And then from there, it's just, you know, just learning on the fly, really learning from our peers, other people in the space that have put on events, networking, you know, having a great event planner that you know, helps us out and, you know, really, you know, puts everything together as far as our vision, and she actually is able to execute it. And from there, it's just a matter of just, you know, always trying to up the ante. Like, you know, if we do something that's, you know, on this level, we want to try to do it on this level and on that level. So the live event experience is something that's important and you want to leave a good memory. So, you know, it's about being creative and it's about, you know, really, you know, having a high level production. So those are the things that we always try to keep in mind when we try to do events, is that, you know, we want people to remember it for years to come. So it doesn't matter whether it's the Apollo or whether it's InvestFest or whether we come to London. Like, we always want to put together the highest level of production, the best experience possible, and really just give way more value than what people pay for.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got your own vibe to thing. I like how you say, you know, you want people to leave an impact, because just like when people go to certain artists' music concerts, they'll always be like, "Oh, I always remember this artist," and whatnot. I wanted to talk about what's quickly for some people who don't know. Like, I want to talk about how when I went to Fest Atlanta, I don't even know where I saw it. You know, I think I must have saw one of my friends. I must have saw one of my friends. He just posted it on his story. And you see, the thing is about your like people around me, like someone posted on their story. I asked him, "Oh, are you gonna go to it?" And he goes, "You know, I don't know." And then there was another guy. He was like, I don't know, maybe, probably." And I'm the type of guy where I've just come to realize that a lot of people like to talk, just talk, like just a lot of people like to talk. So I said, I'm not gonna ask them twice. I'm just gonna book the ticket and go. I'm gonna just book the ticket and go. And then when I went there, everyone was like, whoa, you didn't tell me. But I don't think it was really gonna go anyway. They're just talking. But I've got a funny story, man, of the way I was gonna just say that you know, like you guys are basically, because you know you got basically what I'm trying to say is that Rashad, you could I don't know what your personality is. So when I went to your VIP event, and basically, you know, when I hear about Americans and celebrities, all I hear is online there might be one way, but in person they might come off like, what's the word, like, you know, standoffish and whatnot. And I can't lie, I was shocked when when I came to that VIP event and I went there, tried to go into the VIP event and I forgot my pass. And they were like, oh no, yeah, you can't get in, blah, blah. And then when I saw you and I spoke to Rashad and this guy was so calm, so humble. I said, no, this is crazy. I said, this is like, you don't act like you're some crazy celebrity. I said, nah, this is crazy. And then, then you got me in VIP, so sick. And I recommend, I'm definitely gonna, now you told me VIP there in London, so I'm definitely gonna get a VIP ticket, man, as soon as I come up this call.
And I appreciate it. I mean, I just goes to show you, like, you never know how life is going to turn. So I didn't even know who you were, but I'm like, yeah, cool. You coming from London, so obviously, that's a long journey to come to America. So anything that I could do to help to accommodate the situation, to be of help, I didn't know that, a couple of months later we would end up on your show, but that's just the law of reciprocity, and I feel like it's important to kind of, just be a good person, because ultimately you never know how it's going to come back to you, and you never know, somebody that you might help at some point might be in a position to help you, which you're currently doing now as far as having us on your platform. So yeah, I mean, that's something that, for us, that's how we started, is just, as regular people. So, we still carry that same level of mindset, wherever we go. We talk to the people, we with the people, have conversations. It's not like Hollywood, or it's not something that, we look at ourselves as like above everybody else, whatever. Like, we just regular people that was able to accomplish things that, aren't normal. But at the end of the day, it's more of a motivation and inspiration, because it's like, if we can do it, then anybody can do it. But I think it's important to, remain humble, and stay level-headed, because that's the only way that you can really stay relatable to the people. And anything can happen. And so it's extremely important to just stay even keel. You don't get too low in bad times, you don't get too high during good times. Just kind of stay level.
Yeah, there's no stushness over here.
You're picking up on the lingo already. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I'm West
Wait,
Indian
is
background,
is that UK lingo or is that American? Do you guys say?
Well, my parents are Jamaican.
Oh, okay, yeah, and a lot of London is
Yeah,
Jamaican.
yeah. So you know how that goes. But yeah, man, the beautiful thing about it is that we get to be ourselves every day. Like literally, this is who we are. Like the people who've grown up around us are still around us. The people that know us, when they see us, this is like, all right, well, that's exactly who they are. And so when people encounter us from watching us online, it's like, nah, there is no difference. It doesn't differentiate. There's no stishness. There's no pretentiousness. Like this is who we are every day, and that's the beautiful thing about it. And another thing about you, what you said was incredible, right? Like you saw people that were on the fence, but you said, all right, I'm doing this, right? And so that goes into like your character too. It's like our community of people who come to these events have that mindset where it's like, yo, I'm not waiting. I'm gonna take the first step. I'm gonna jump off the porch, but like, look where it's led. You see what I'm saying? So like, kudos to you for doing that and being part of the community. Because I mean, I'm sure that's why we let you. Shai was like, oh, you're here. You must be part of this community. Come in, man. It's open arms.
Yeah, it's just, and for me, I look at it as an investment. I'm like, if I invest into this, some people will spend that same amount of money on a PlayStation 5 or something like that, and cool, you get your enjoyment out of it. But I'm looking at it as if I can learn even one piece of information that could take me, do something crazy over the long term, then I think it's more than worth it. I think it's well worth the investment. So that's just the way I always look at things. I always look at it, and I always say that the best investment you can make is an investment in yourself. So whatever that might be, I'm always going to take it on.
Appreciate that. Or the relationships, you never know who you're going to meet as well. Going something like that, and like being able to meet and connect with different people that could potentially help you out and change your life as well.
You guys are really good on relationships, because to be able to get so many people like Tyler Perry and Steve Harvey and Rick Ross and T.I. and all these guys, like how your network is just, it's vast. Like, talk to me about that and how you've been able to build those skills, or how you're able to network so well, how you're able to build such good relationships.
Yeah, I feel like it's been a cornerstone of our success. And really, I mean, there's no real secret in it. It's just like, just being a good person, honoring your word, not promising things that you can't deliver on, adding value. Like, these are all things that like we've been able to build our platform to where it's a valuable commodity. So it's not like we're just asking for things for, nothing in return. So, people come on our platform and they gain value from it. and just being relatable, looking to help when we can help other people. Just saying thank you, stuff like that. Little stuff like that goes a long way. So I feel like everybody that we've been able to connect with, it's just been genuine relationships, and just being, just real people. I think that they appreciate that, and it's relatable.
Yeah.
And that's helped us. And one person is introduced to another person, introduced to another person, and that's kind of like been the key to our success, really.
Yeah, I think what you touched on is the key, the formula for it, right? Just being 100% authentic. Like the person you saw is the person that you're gonna meet. So I always say, like, when people come around us, no one ever leaves. All right, because number one, obviously we're adding value and they're bringing value to our platform too. But we're stewards. Like we learn so much from people, and we always look at people like they have so much value, like they become a resource, and likewise we become a resource for them. And so once people come into this earn your leisure world, they want to stay with, because they know that we can connect them to somebody. Our network is so vast that there might be a connection or a place to connect somewhere in the future. So it's one of those things, man. We, like I said, we get to be authentically who we are, and when people see like how real this is and how important what we're doing, this mission that we're on right now is, they want to help at any chance they can, right? Because at any point, money's going to be a topic of conversation, right? In any walks of life, money and business is going to come into the conversation. And so to know that the information is being delivered in a digestible manner, people want to be around it and they want to have more of it, because again, everybody has to have money to survive in this world.
Facts. That leads me on to our next question, which is, you're on the Wi-Fi Money podcast. And you know what? I heard you said that you're no longer calling your thing a podcast. So I think I might call mine thing now Wi-Fi Money Show or something. Or might just keep it as Wi-Fi Money or something like that. But I was going to say, when you hear that word Wi-Fi Money, it's a term that I call my things and call my community and whatnot. What does that mean to you? Wi-Fi Money.
Wi-Fi, like WIFI?
Yeah. Like, yeah.
I mean, for me, like Wi-Fi, you connect to the Wi-Fi,
Mhm.
and you upload and you can do anything all over the world. So that, to me, like Wi-Fi money means, like, it's digital, it's in the air, is no boundaries. It crosses state line, crosses country line, crosses oceans, where no matter where you are, it's wireless. Like, you can download and tap into the information to get the resources, to get the money. So yeah, that's how I look at it. As far as Wi-Fi, you just need a password.
Mm-hmm.
Need the password, which is the information, and then once you get the information, then you tapped in, and from there it's just limited possibilities and resources that's available to you. So yeah,
that was a bar. That was a whole
Yeah, that was a
bar.
bar. Yeah, that was a bar.
Yeah.
Hey, once you get the password.
Well, yeah, the password. I like that. I mean, when I heard it, the first thing I thought it was Jay, when he was like, "Yo, I just sent $1 million to a hands free. That's big money talk. Can you answer me?" Right. So like that's it right there. It's that connectivity, that network. You got to get on the network to actually, get the resources. And that's one of the things I say anytime we get in front of the audience. Is not about being in the right place at the right time. It's about being in the right place all the time. And so, like, obviously coming to InvestFest was the right place because it led us to this moment right here. So that's what it means, man. That connectivity, that network, and making sure that you're in the right place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, making money online right now is really, really big. And I wanted to ask you guys, like, I know you guys are making money however you are now, but if, let's say, you was to start all over again from zero, there's so many side hustles that people can do online, through making money online and Wi-Fi. What do you think you would go into? What are some of the things that maybe you're doing it now, or if you had to start all over again, what would be some of the things? Because that's the main question I get a lot. Oh, how can I start? How can I start making money? And also, how can I start investing? And what would be your opinion on it if you were starting from, yeah.
I mean, before, as far as I see great opportunities in the media space, great opportunities business. You got to actually have a brand. So that was the whole long-term game. Like even before Earn Your Leisure, like I said, just developing my brand. Originally, I wanted to just build my financial planning practice. That was why I was actually doing the whole social media thing, but I wasn't actually selling people or like pitching them on different financial planning products. My whole idea was like, once I built enough followers, then I'll be able to, do whatever I want and be able to monetize it from there. And then it switched once we realized, I got something else, Earn Your Leisure. So but it was still the same idea of like just grow the following. And once you have enough eyeballs, once you have enough attention, then it's easy to monetize as long as you have something that's, valuable to the people. So I would figure out, what you want to do first and foremost, and how you can be different from everybody else that's in the space that's already currently doing that, and how you can add value to people's lives. And then from there, just go put together, your action plan, start creating content, learn how to create content. I feel like content creation is something that's extremely valuable, and it's a tool and it's a skill set that I think could probably be one of the most valuable skill sets going forward in the next, 20, 30 years. Learning how to edit TikTok videos, learning how to, make thumbnails for YouTube, learning how to, this is something that I think, people are going to be making millions of dollars just doing that, and even if they're not building it for their own personal brand, if you can do that for other people, because a lot of people don't know how to do that, or they're not willing to learn how to do that. So learning how to create content is really storytelling. That's how I look at it. A lot of times people try to minimize things like, oh, it's not really real, it's not serious, but it's like telling stories. It's the equivalent of actually being a ghostwriter for somebody, or being a film director. You're actually narrating a story, and you're helping people tell their story, and helping people reach millions of people. So learning how to edit videos, captions on videos, different apps to use, how to deliver your message, what you want your message to be, just take time. It's not something that happens overnight. It might take, a year or 2 years or 3 years, whatever. But I feel like, once you kind of have a purpose, and once you have a direction and what you want to go into, you just got to drill down on that, be consistent. And then from there, you have different multiple streams of income that, you can have at your disposal.
Yeah, I agree. I think to go back to the root of what you're asking, where we go back and what we do. I don't know if I go back and change anything. I think every skill that he just named, including even this, like recording and how to do that, we had to learn those skills. And I think that is a vital part of the business, like understanding each aspect of it. So there's nothing in our business that we can't do, right? Yeah, we can pay people to do it now, but we know how to do it ourselves. And I think a lot of people go into business and they have no idea what they're getting themselves into. So we know each and every aspect. And I think from a standpoint of when you're building a community, they get to see that growth too. Like every week or so, we get reminded, like, yeah, I remember when y'all had cell phones and y'all used to record off cell phones. So like to see now when you see like their production has increased, it's like, all right, they started with us at the very ground level of when we were beginning Earn Your Leisure to the point where we're at now. And they're like, yo, I've seen the growth, right? This thing didn't just happen overnight. Like this took a lot of work. This took a lot of sacrifice. This took a lot of dedication and determination to get to this point. And so they've been growing with the brand as the brand's been growing. That's why I think this situation is so unique, because a lot of times you hear about businesses and they're already going public and they're watching this being built, from two dudes who are in my dining room, really, to create what we have now, a worldwide brand, that's going to be coming to take over the UK very shortly.
Hard. Can you tell me what you kind of went all over that? I was going to ask what the meaning of earn your leisure is, but you went over that, to be honest. I wanted to go on to losses, because when you're going into investing and when you're doing business and all these things I don't know if maybe people talk about losses a lot, especially on Instagram and whatnot, especially you're seeing this new wave entrepreneurs, and it's just wins, do this and you can win and whatnot. But I don't think people talk a lot about and losses, how to deal with them, whether you're going into investing and businesses. So talk about, if you could tell me what, like, the kind of road bumps that people might come across when they're doing business or investing, and how you would navigate them, or how you would deal with them. How do you deal with them personally as well?
I think we changing the language on it now. There's only wins and lessons, right? There's there are no losses. Every time what was that's God's work that we're going to be doing that we feel is worthy. And so even did I learn, right? Because the most important thing is not to make the mistake again, right? And so now when you find a lesson inside of what you've actually done, it's like, all right, now how do I execute? How do I put the implementation in place so that I can't make it? But the best part about it for us is, like, if we make a mistake in it, right, we learn from it, but now we get to teach, right? So that now you don't have to do it, right? That goes back to, like, Jay again, it was like, yeah, we did that, so hopefully you don't have to go through that. Right. So like that's what this is all about. And I feel like, especially this generation right now with the time that we're in, is like there's so many lessons that are being shared so that everybody else's future can be expedited and you don't have to make the same mistakes. So there aren't any L's really.
Sick. I love you guys' influence of hip hop. You take a lot. You merge the hip hop and everything so smoothly. I remember when I don't know who it was, but you were saying how you're on the road all the time, going to different places, just like how artists will be going to different things. And you always bring up Jay and all these different artists. And I think a lot of people have been, well, I don't know about everyone else, but I've definitely been like, when I hear these rappers talk about, they talk about money, but they're not really talking about it in a right way. They're kind of just saying, yeah, get the bag, but just spend it on whatever drip and whatnot. So the way you guys kind of implement that, you implement it really perfectly. How come? Where's that? Why did you go so heavy with that influence of hip hop? Because you could have easily just decided to like not be too related to it.
Yeah, I mean, hip hop is who we are. We both 80s babies, grew up in it. I was born in the South Bronx, at the home of hip hop. And so it's always been a part of my life. Like, I like to give it a lot of credit as far as I used to memorize songs. Like, so I got a million songs in my head. I was like, one day, what am I going to do with it? Until I came into that program, I was like, all right, let me use the hip hop that I know to actually teach financial literacy. So like, I would take lyrics and find like, oh, wait, that's a bar that we can actually use to create a lesson around. And so it started as like creative writing, but it turned into a form of like, oh, wait, we can teach through the songs. It's like I always use 21 Savage as an example. Like when he's saying a lyric in a lot, I'm like, oh, we can take that. Or if Beyonce or if Lil Baby is saying something, or even Central C. Like when we were in the UK in February, we heard Central C talking about, factory diamonds on his Rolex. I'm like, that's a bar. We can use that. And so I think one of the things that we do really well is we decode the lyrics. Like me and him would, for years, like we would just listen to lyrics, but we heard them differently than a lot of our friends. I remember like my boys would be like, yo, that's what you heard when he said that? I'm like, you didn't hear that? And he was like, nah. I'm like, all right. So, there's a talent in decoding the lyrics and actually using them for a purposeful situation, like teaching.
No wonder you brought Rick Ross on. He's always
because he's teaching wealth.
Yeah. Rick Ross, yeah, Rick Ross, funny, he's a cool guy though. But what's it called? What did you always want to do this? Did you always want to, do what you guys are doing right now since you was a child?
I always wanted to be in business. I didn't really know, like it wasn't like my dream to actually, do the media thing. Kind of came later. Like I said, once I saw the power of Instagram, then I was definitely interested in doing this and reaching different people and producing content and stuff like that. But not always. Like I said, I always wanted to be in business, always was interested in investing. It was just a matter of just kind of figuring out, what the best way to go about it was, what path would be the best path to take. But I knew that I never wanted to have a job. I never wanted to work for anybody. I always wanted to be my own boss my whole entire life. So
yeah, I'm first generation financially fluent. So no, no, it wasn't. I thought education. I mean, it in a funny way it is, right? Because we're still educating just in a different subject. But education was my thing. Like I honestly wanted to first be a physical therapist because of sports. I love sports, and I realized I wasn't going to be paid to do it. And so I was like, all right, well, let me figure out how I can still incorporate sports. So I began teaching it as a phys ed teacher. And I was like, all right, well, this is cool. But at a certain point, I felt like my purpose was bigger than that. And so Earn Your Leisure came. It was something that was natural. Like I said, that me and him doing something together, that's nothing. We talk every day anyway. But the business aspect of it was something I had to learn and really like dive into and pull myself into. So when people always ask, like, did you ever dream like it would be like this? I'm like, yeah, who dreams that you're going to create something, a media platform at that can, touch so many lives and have so much impact and change the world. That's tough to dream, but I'm glad that it's a reality.
Mm-hmm. Rashad, you said that you knew you always wanted to be in business, but what specific things, what things happened in your childhood that made you want to really be in business? Because I remember for me, when I was like 8 years old, 7 years old, my uncle would be showing me like top 10 richest list, and I'll be seeing like Bill Gates, and I started getting infatuated with Bill Gates, and I'm like, wow, like what the hell did he do to amass so much wealth? And I remember my uncle, he showed me this video of $1 billion in actual like visualized and stuff like that, and Forbes lists and all this stuff like that. That's why I'm in business, because I was just stuff like that I got showed to YouTube videos from young.
yeah, for sure. I mean, for me, my dad was always an entrepreneur, so that was definitely a big influence. in me is seeing him firsthand and kind of, him instilling that type of, mindset in me early. And then, like I said, I was just very independent my whole life. I was always kind of like a real independent, strong-minded person. So I always knew that, I wasn't really going to be the best when it comes to like fitting in a corporate structure or getting a job. That was never appealing to me. Like, and seeing different movies was big inspiration for me, like Wall Street, Barbarians at the Gate. I used to watch a lot of like movies about like corporate takeover artists and like, big time investors on the stock market. And that was just like fascinating to me to be able to see people, that was making so much money in business and wearing suits every day. And it just looked like that life was just really appealing. It looked like that life was like, something that, everybody wants to kind of live like that. Everybody wants to have millions of dollars and have penthouses and limousines and all that stuff. So like as a kid, just watching those images on television, I was like, that's definitely what I want to do in some capacity. So yeah, that's some of the influences that kind of moved me in that direction.
What about you, Troy? Or was it always just more that you're going to be a teacher route that you just?
Yeah, I mean, as I was teaching, I realized like the days of people doing this career for 25, 35 years were over. Like I said, so I knew there was a bigger purpose or a bigger calling on my life. But it took for a few years for me to realize that I had mastered it. So like my peers, obviously, Shadi, being around people who were in the space and had time to themselves, right? Like I was doing a 9 to 5. Then I had free time, obviously, after work, but it was just like, yo, these guys, they create their own schedule. They kind of have a certain level of freedom that I didn't have. And so my mindset was there. It was just like, okay, I get it. They're entrepreneurs, but how do I flip this in a 9 to 5 space? So I started looking at my school district as my like their investor, right? Like I'm the investment. They pay me depending on how I deliver. And so I started having that type of mindset. Then it was like, all right, if I'm doing this from 9 to 5, well, what am I going to be doing from 6 to 12? Because that's really going to determine how long I'll be doing this 9 to 5. And so I was like, all right, I'll just find something to dedicate myself to. Like I said, so we had other businesses that didn't work, right? And again, it wasn't a purpose filled vision for us doing those. But this one, it was like I was seeing the impact as we were doing it. So I was still teaching what we were doing in your leisure. But I was like, wow, man, I can influence this school, maybe this school district, right? If I really come up with something really brilliant, or I could continue living through this social media space where I can impact the world. Really, like people were in Kuwait and they were sending messages, and people were, in prison and they were talking about episodes that changed their mindset. And we had people in Tokyo. I'm just like, wow, this is spreading pretty big. And I was like, all right, yeah, let's dedicate this. And so the synopsis was like, look, where can I have the biggest impact? And I was like, all right, over here, because this can impact the world. Like my ceiling was so low as a teacher being in that school. I was like, how far can I really go with this? But outside of that, and Earning Leisure was like, there really isn't a ceiling. Like there's nothing that we can't do. And so people are watching that happen in real time right now. So like obviously my peers, some of the experiences of going through businesses that didn't work were probably like the biggest things that influenced me.
You guys work so well as a team, and it's not everybody that can. Well, lots of people have decided to do businesses and whatnot together, and they don't go well. What would you say you look for in a business partner? What do you say should people look for in a business partner to create something as successful as what you guys have created?
Passion, I think that's important. Work ethic is extremely important. Having a vision, like a similar vision, and understanding each other's strengths and balances. Like I know his strengths, I know his weaknesses, and likewise. And so like my thing is like, let's fill in the gaps for each other. Like I said, I gave you a prime example of what the social media. It was like, yo, I'm spending 10 to 20 minutes trying to write one caption, where he was doing that. Like it felt like, and I'm sure he put a lot of time, but it just felt like he had a natural knack for it. He was doing like 2 minutes and it'd be done. I was like, all right, well, let me go be great at something else. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like, yo, let me try to be better than him at this. It was like, let me go be better at this. So like knowing each other's strengths and weaknesses, understanding ego, and understanding how to check that. Obviously, and this is important. Like we two black men, like we have pride and we have ego, but like, what's the mission? Like, what's the vision? Right? Like, what's going to get us to the place we want to be? And sometimes you got to sacrifice that and put it to the side and understand it and check it at times. So I think those are some key components when you're looking for a business partner.
What about you, Rashad?
Yeah, for sure. I think, finding somebody that's has different skill set than you, because it's not really that beneficial if you do, graphic designing, then your partner does graphic design as well. And it's like you kind of both doing the same thing. So definitely look for somebody that, you know, can help and do things that you don't necessarily have a skill set in, and vice versa. And now you kind of like, kill two birds with one stone, because that actually allows you to grow a lot faster, because now, you're hitting on all cylinders. And then, just rapport. Like you gotta, have a level of trust. You gotta be able to trust the people that you work with. You gotta be able to, respect the people that you work with. And you gotta, hold each other accountable. So I feel that, if everybody's on the same page, it makes it a lot easier as far as the mission. But if different people have different views and they have different work ethics and they have different, ways that they handle situations, then that could cause issues down the line.
And I know, and well, also with a team, I know that I'm assuming that you guys probably have a big team, a lot of moving parts, and things that you have to handle. How, transitioning from, I bet it was just only just you two at the beginning, to having so many people that you have to manage. How was that transition, and how did you deal about it? Did you have to go learn that? Did you learn that in a book, or did you have to get mentored for that, or was it just natural to you?
I think you learn on the fly. Then I read books like different stuff like How to Win Friends and Influence People. That's a good book about how to actually deal with people. For Agreements, that's another good book. Like personal development book where you learn different things. 48 Laws of Power. So like, I'm always into those kind of books, and I think that's kind of helped me become more diplomatic and deal with people, because it's important to actually know different people's personalities and learn how to actually negotiate things and how to use diplomacy to get things done as opposed to just force. So ultimately, I think that it's important to further your education and learn by reading, by taking courses, whatever, in personal development and leadership. And then also, you learn as you go. Certain things are just life lessons that you pick up as in life. So I think a combination of both is important.
Sick, man. Now, it's been a great show so far. I finally wanted to ask, just bringing it back to in the InvestFest London, why should people want to go there? What are you going to teach there? What are you going to teach there? Why should people go there? How they're going to benefit from going to InvestFest in London for the people in the UK and Europe as well?
I think it's
Europe. Yeah.
it's a great experience, because it's something that I don't think that the European market is actually used to, as far as how we curate experiences, like with financial literacy and business. you know it's not just like a regular seminar, come sit down. Like, we really curate a vibe and mix education with entertainment. So we'll have musical performance, we'll have high energy giveaways, excitement. It's like kind of going to a revival, but you're learning, right? So you're learning about education when it comes to cryptocurrency, to stocks, to real estate. I mean, actually learning real tangible stuff where you can actually go outside and make money. That's what it's about, right? Like being able to leave and being able to make $1,000, meaning 1,000 pounds, 5,000 pounds, 10,000 pounds, £1,000,000. Like, this is things that you can actually do through education. So, we bring people that are experts in the field, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to bring, people from America, like, 19 Keys, Wall Street Travel, and done that. They have big names in America about investing in artificial intelligence and cryptocurrency. But then we're also going to bring people from the UK, like Patricia Bright, who's, big time influencer in the space, and extremely knowledgeable when it comes to business. Anton Belleton Dixon is somebody who, they've compared him to Tyler Perry of the UK, who has done a great job as far as building a media empire and also real estate development in the UK as well. So we're going to be merging the United States with the UK, and just giving as much information as possible. So that's one reason why you should definitely go. But then also from a networking standpoint, to have over 3,000 people in a venue, and everybody's on the same type of time when looking to better themselves, looking to find business partners. So you never know who you might run into. So from a networking standpoint, I think it's extremely valuable. And like I said, we're going to curate a whole weekend of experiences. So VIP is more intimate gathering on Sunday the 30th, October 30th, and that's definitely can meet and greet us. We're going to be there all our friends are going to be there. So that's an opportunity for that. But then you're also going to learn. There's going to be even more education there. We're going to be talking about stocks. We're going to be talking about trucking. We're going to be talking about a variety of different things there as well. And then to add some fun to it, everybody that comes to the VIP, we're gonna have a Halloween party hosted by Terrence J that night. So that's gonna be, so it's just, it's about creating experiences. InvestFest Europe Halloween weekend is definitely gonna be an experience. And all you have to do is just look at the Instagram and see what happened in Atlanta. You was at Atlanta, so you kind of know. And this is something that, like I said, I don't think there's ever really been anything like that. That's especially for our culture in London. So this is groundbreaking. Mm-hmm. So it's always important to be, a part of history. And, God willing, we'll be able to do this every year. But, there's nothing like the first year, right? So it's like, to have a part of history, you're like a shareholder in the culture and, get to reframe the whole way that this system works. And that's what we, are doing here in America. And we're taking the show on the road and the idea is to do it all over the world. So, just, it's limitless possibilities in life. Like, you don't have to just work a job. You don't have to just, like, you can do anything, but it starts with education and it starts with the belief system. So that's what we're going to do when we come to London. Looking forward to seeing everybody. You can get your tickets at investfest.com, investfesteuro.com. And to also just for being at Royal Albert Hall, I think it's extremely important as well. Like, that's a very prestigious venue, royal venue. So for us to come, and talking about financial literacy and business, but add our twist on it and put the swag on it, I think it's extremely important. It sets a good precedent to not only the UK but all over the world that it's a new day, and especially for our people, for Black people, doesn't matter whether you come from Nigeria, Ghana, or Jamaica, wherever your parents, your grandparents come from. At the end of the day, we all Black. And we all have different challenges and struggles that we face, whether it's in America or whether it's the UK. And it's important to understand that, we're not second-class citizens, we're first-class citizens. And, we represent ourselves as first-class citizens. So we just didn't get any venue, we got the top venue. So that's important. And that's the kind of message that we want to send.
Sick. Thank you, man. Rashad, Troy, EYL. Thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it a lot, man, for you guys coming on. You didn't have to do this, and thanks for taking your time out to come on here. And I know there's been a lot of value that people can get from this. And yeah, people need to come to. I'm going to be there. InvestFest Europe.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having us, man.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate it.